What's going on, guys? It's Jack here today doing another NBA draft profile as requested by Brandon Joel, looking at Frank Jackson, the guard from Duke. I did not expect to be making this video this soon. I figured this video would be in 2018, but nevertheless, Frank Jackson went to the NBA Combine. He hadn't signed with an agent, and he impressed there, and obviously enough so that he thought he should stay in the draft, and so he did. And, he's looking at probably being a late first to early second round draft pick, but we'll get into that later. The Frank Jackson, the prospect, though, is a very intriguing player. Obviously, he tested well. He had a 36.5 no-step vertical and a 42-inch vertical, where he was allowed to have a two-step run-up, and that was, I believe, second in the class. So he really showed off well there. And in the scrimmages, he looked really solid, especially coming off pick and roll, moving downhill. He looked much better there, much more comfortable with the ball in his hands. He definitely been training. You could tell that he was more ready to be the lead guard, to have the ball in his hands. He looked more comfortable as opposed to the season with Duke, where he was off ball and on ball, and he didn't look necessarily comfortable all the time with the ball in his hands, and he was pretty inconsistent throughout the season. And part of that was because of minutes and the opportunities that he had based on who was playing at the time due to injuries. And so therefore his play definitely fluctuated, but towards the end of the season, especially the last couple of games there, he got into a groove and really found a scoring niche on that team where he was pretty consistently over 10 to 15 points a game, had a couple straight games of 20 points there, and was really feeling it as an offensive player. Defensively, he has a good defensive stance. He gets low and he is able to pressure the ball, and he's a guy who can at times be a pest on that end of the court. Sometimes picks him up full court and is just really nagging at the offensive player, using his athleticism, his quickness, ability to move in and out, and just guard the opposition and just be a nuisance, right? And Frank Jackson, though, it is a player who he's going to need to be more consistent offensively, in terms of just ball handling, decision making, and that's going to really impact what I think his ceiling and floor is right now. And I think right now, worst case scenario, you're looking at a guy who's going to come off the bench as a scoring guard, and he's maybe a 1 or 2. You don't really know. He doesn't shoot the ball quite well enough for a 2 guard. He's not quite big enough, but he doesn't have the playmaking skills that you want for 1. So he's kind of in between in that sense. And so he worst case scenario to me right now is he's a scoring guard off the bench, somebody who gets you, somewhere around 8 to 10 points. It's probably like your 7th or 8th man off the bench on a good team who can just come in and score. And then best case scenario, he does develop some more playmaking type skills, and that really helps him to be able to start, and therefore his scoring is accentuated, and he becomes more of a go-to scorer, a guy who gets maybe 15 to 20 points, around 4 to 5 assists a game. Now earlier I was mentioning a lot of the positives to Frank's game, and I really liked his ability to improve throughout the season and his tenacity. He's a good worker on the court, very competitive player, and a guy who trended upward throughout the season. However, he does have some things he does need to work on. For example, for all the athleticism, his ability to go downhill, he settles for the jumper too often. I think that, he does have a good jump shot, but he should be more aggressive in terms of taking it to the basket. Too often early in games, he just settle for a deep three-pointer, and he could get a better shot than that. And that goes into his decision-making as a lead guard. He's not great in terms of coming off pick and rolls, making that decision in terms of pass or go to the basket. He just needs more reps at just doing that. And so therefore, if a team picks him up and wants him to be their point guard or play point guard for them, it's going to be really important that he gets those types of reps in the summer league to develop. I mentioned earlier he needs to become more consistent with his jumper. And, he's getting there. I think that's going to just come with time. I'm not too worried about that aspect. Defensively, his instincts are so-so in terms of help defense right now. He needs to get better as a team defender, just more consistent with his rotations. He's a streaky shooter. What I mean by that is sometimes he'll have a couple good games in a row, and then he'll just go cold for a couple of games, and that's going to come with time. And also part of that was just his freshman year, which I thought if he came back for his sophomore year, some of that might be, he'll become more consistent, but we'll have to see how he does transitioning to the next level with more, obviously with all of his focus now on basketball. And rebounding, I thought the guy, his athleticism to only average 2.5 boards a game, and I just thought he could have had more of an impact on that end of the court. Obviously, only about half a steal a game as well. He's a pesky defender, but that didn't translate to many steals per game. So you'd like to see that improve at the next level, as well as he just had too many just stupid fouls, frankly, and he definitely needs to clean it up, just become a smarter player. If he just becomes more, he just calms down a little bit, becomes a little bit more aware, more smart on the basketball court, I think he's got a chance to develop into a really good player at the next level. I expect him, as I said earlier, in this video, to be drafted in the 25 to 35 range, and that's a big difference in terms of, obviously, late first, you get that guaranteed contract. Second round, you don't. And so, therefore, if you're Frank Jackson, you think, based on him staying in the draft, he got a promise by some team, maybe middle 20s, that they're going to pick him. And that's why he stayed in the draft. But, guys, thanks for listening to this video. Let me know who you want to see profiled and what you think about this video. Do you disagree with me? Do you agree? Remember to like this video, comment, share, and subscribe for all of you who haven't listened to videos before. We're going to be producing lots more NBA draft content on our way up to the draft. Thanks for listening again, and I'm out.